My sister stole my therapy savings to gift her fiancé a watch worth $6,000. At my birthday lunch, I confronted her and said, "You used my pain for a present?" She laughed and said, "Don't be so dramatic, it's just money." I quietly showed the receipt I found in her drawer. "Do you seriously believe I stole your therapy money?" Marla laughed, stirring her drink like I'd told her she took the last cookie, not the cash I'd painstakingly saved for mental health support. "I don't believe it," I said quietly. "I know it." Her face froze for a split second. Then, with that dismissive smile she always wore when she didn't want to take responsibility, she rolled her eyes. "It's just money, Iris. You're being so dramatic." And that's when I pulled out the receipt I'd found in her drawer. $6,182.89. A watch for her fiancé. Paid in full. 2 days later the money vanished from my apartment. I'm 42, divorced for 5 years now, living alone in a modest rental just outside Asheville, North Carolina. I work as a school counselor and live a quiet, steady life. After the split from Peter, 12 years of marriage, I fell into a dark place. The kind that swallows you whole, even if you function well on the surface. Therapy saved me. Or, I should say, I saved myself through therapy. When I couldn't afford weekly sessions anymore, I started setting aside whatever I could. Birthday money, work bonuses, $20 here and there, all went into a metal tin tucked in my closet under a stack of old teacher workbooks. A safe little ritual. The last time I counted, I had just over $2,400. That was early March. Then came Marla. My sister is 5 years younger. We've never been especially close. She's loud, charismatic, effortlessly social, the kind of person who walks into a room and everyone turns. Where I was the quiet achiever, Marla was the adored chaos. Our parents, especially my mother, always leaned into Marla's side of things, calling her spirited or expressive. Even when she borrowed things and forgot to return them. Even when she maxed out credit cards and made excuses. I've always kept her at arm's length, but I've never thought she would do something like this. She came over one Saturday afternoon after brunch at our mom's house. She hadn't visited in over a year, but said she wanted to see my place again and catch up. She was excited, newly engaged to a guy named Lucas. I'd only met him once, a very polished, finance guy, slicked back hair and tailored shirts. Marla wandered through my place like she was in an open house, opening cupboards and drawers casually like it was all hers. I remember her saying, "I forgot how tiny your bathroom is," in a tone that made my teeth grit. She used the bathroom, poured herself a glass of wine, then left 45 minutes later with a breezy, "We need to do this more." I didn't notice anything right away. The tin was where I left it, so I didn't check it. But 4 days later, I was organizing some clothes and pulled it out. It was lighter. I counted. $416. I sat on the floor, just staring at the loose bills in my lap, numb and nauseous. I recounted. Checked around the closet. Nothing. I didn't want to believe it, but no one had been in my apartment but me and Marla. No cleaner, no landlord, no friend. I texted her lightly, carefully. "Hey, random question, did you happen to see anything weird in my closet the other day?" She replied almost instantly. "Nope. Your place is cute as always, smiley face, why?" I didn't push it. I knew better than to start a confrontation I couldn't prove. But then, 2 weeks later, I went to Mom's to help her clean out the attic. She asked me to grab some of Marla's things from the guest room. Her old nightstand drawer was jammed, and I tugged it a little too hard. Out slid a folded Nordstrom receipt, barely tucked under some tangled jewelry. I don't know why I unfolded it. Maybe some instinct. Maybe the universe. The purchase was for a $6,000 Rolex dated 2 days after she visited my apartment. Paid with a card, billed to her, and delivered to Lucas's work address in Charlotte. My hands were shaking. I stared at that receipt for what felt like an hour before sliding it into my coat pocket and saying nothing. My mom didn't notice a thing. I didn't sleep much that week. I replayed it over and over again in my head. I almost gaslit myself into thinking maybe I misplaced the money. Maybe I was wrong. But I wasn't. The moment I knew I had to confront her was at my birthday lunch. Marla insisted on planning it at a nice place downtown. She said it was her gift to me. We went to Chestnut in Asheville, a lovely spot I liked for its quiet booths and good trout. I should have known she had something to prove. She showed up late, of course, draped in a designer shawl and flashing that ring again. Lucas was with her. My parents were already there, along with my cousin Daria and a few co-workers I'd invited. Marla handed me a pretty little boutique bag. Inside? A lavender candle and a card that said, "Wishing you peace this year." Peace. It made my hands shake. I didn't say anything until dessert. The table was buzzing with small talk, everyone laughing and sipping wine. Marla was holding court, talking about her wedding plans like it was the royal event of the year. And then I said it. Not loudly. Not angrily. Just clearly. Marla. Why did you take my therapy savings to buy Lucas that watch? The silence was instant. Even the waitress paused mid-pour. Marla blinked. Excuse me? You were the only one in my apartment. 2 days later, over $2,000 was missing. Then I found the receipt. In your drawer. I reached into my purse and placed the receipt in the middle of the table. My mom gasped. Daria leaned forward. Lucas looked like someone had dropped ice down his back. Marla laughed light and casual. Oh my God, Iris, it's just money. Don't be so dramatic. Just money. I could feel my throat closing. I didn't shout. I didn't cry. I just said, that money was for therapy. You used it to buy a present. You used my pain for a gift. She opened her mouth to say something else, but I stood up, thanked the server, and walked out. I walked the 10 blocks home from Chestnut that afternoon. I could have called a car or caught the bus, but I needed to feel my feet on the pavement, to be alone with the swirl of heat and shame and sadness boiling in my chest. I didn't cry. Not right away. My face was still fixed in that neutral mask I wore so often when dealing with school board meetings or emotionally loaded parents. But deep inside, I was unraveling. I didn't hear from Marla that night. Not a text. Not a call. But I didn't expect one. The thing about people like her, people who believe charm is currency, is that they don't say sorry unless the damage costs them something. The next morning, I woke to 4 missed calls. 1 from my mom, 2 from Marla, 1 from Lucas. I ignored Marla. I listened to my mom's voicemail first. Iris, I don't know what to say. I'm shocked. I really thought maybe you misunderstood, but, the receipt. Please call me. I love you. That sentence I really thought maybe you misunderstood and knotted my stomach. Even in the face of written proof, her instinct was still to doubt me first. It wasn't surprising, but it still hurt. Lucas's voicemail was shorter. Iris, I had no idea. I'm sorry. I'll be in touch, but I don't even know what to think right now. I deleted both of Marla's voicemails without listening. I wasn't ready to hear her spin a story where I was the villain for making a scene at my own birthday. That Monday, back at work, I could hardly focus. I sat across from a student in tears about his parents' divorce and felt like an imposter. I was supposed to be the adult in the room. The one who listens and guides. But I was hollow inside. During my lunch break, I opened my email and made an appointment with Dr. Lehane. I told her it was urgent. She responded within the hour, Iris, I'll fit you in this Friday. Come at 6 p.m. I hadn't seen her in 3 months. Not since I started spacing sessions to stretch my budget. That made me angrier. Not at her, or myself, but at the very idea that something as simple and necessary as therapy had to be saved for like a luxury handbag. And Marla had spent my savings like it was nothing. Like it was just another accessory to impress her fiancé. Friday came. I sat across from Dr. Lehane with my arms crossed, not trusting myself to speak. She waited. I found out who stole the money, I finally said. She nodded, calmly. Do you want to talk about it? It was my sister. She didn't flinch. She never does. She's the kind of therapist who lets silence do its work. I told her everything. The visit. The missing money. The receipt. The birthday confrontation. At one point, I looked at her and said, she laughed. When I told her it was my therapy fund, she laughed. Said I was dramatic. Her brow furrowed slightly, not judgment, just a flicker of something human beneath the professional mask. How did that make you feel? I exhaled through my nose. Like I was 12 again. Like I had to prove she hurt me just to be allowed to be hurt. She nodded slowly. She stole more than money, Iris. She stole safety. Trust. Emotional space. Those things matter more than the cash. It hit me harder than I expected. I felt tears well up, silently, and I let them fall. Over the next week, things started to fall apart for Marla. I didn't reach out to her. But I heard through Daria, who'd been at the lunch and wasn't known for keeping family gossip quiet, that Lucas had confronted her that night. He demanded an explanation. She tried to play it off, of course. Said I was exaggerating. Said she borrowed the money. But Lucas, apparently, had already looked up the watch online. He knew the price. He knew what his fiancé's salary looked like. He ended the engagement 3 days later. She moved back into our mom's house temporarily. Our mom called me a few days later and asked if we could talk in person. I said yes, mostly because I wanted to know what she was thinking. Part of me wanted to believe she'd seen Marla for who she really was. We met at her house. She made tea like she always did. Chamomile. The same kind she used to make when I was sick as a kid. I just want to say I'm sorry, she said softly, sitting across from me at the kitchen table. I didn't see what she was capable of. I always thought she just needed time to grow up. I nodded. You always excuse her. I know, she whispered. We sat in silence for a while, sipping tea. Iris, she's not well, my mom said suddenly. She's spiraling. She's always been spiraling, I replied. It just never hit anyone but me before. My mom didn't argue. That was the start of something different between us, something more honest. But not something entirely healed. Marla texted me again that night. You got what you wanted. Lucas is gone. Happy now? I stared at it for a long time. I didn't reply. Because what I wanted was never her heartbreak. What I wanted was for her to treat me like a human being. And maybe, just once, say she was sorry. I didn't block Marla. Maybe I should have, but I didn't. I wasn't hoping for an apology anymore. I'd long let go of that fantasy. But some part of me, maybe the part trained by years of our family's dynamics, still expected a follow-up. A counterattack, a manipulation, or maybe even one of her infamous crocodile tear voice messages. Instead, she went quiet. That worried me more than if she'd been angry. A week later, I got a call from Daria. She's telling people you made it up, she said, straight to the point. I paused mid-walk. I had just finished grocery shopping and was loading bags into the back of my car. Excuse me? She said you planted the receipt to embarrass her. That you always hated her and this was revenge. I laughed. Out loud. There in the Ingalls parking lot. A sharp, humorless bark of disbelief. She really said that? I asked. She's been crying to Aunt Marie and telling her Lucas dumped her because you have some vendetta. She's making herself the victim. Again. Of course she was. Of course she was. I thanked Daria and hung up, sitting in the driver's seat for a long while before starting the car. My groceries sat in the back seat slowly warming in the spring sun, but I didn't move. There was this aching hollowness in me that wasn't just about betrayal anymore, it was about pattern. How easily people like Marla slipped through life with a smile and a story, while people like me, quiet, careful, and private, had to unravel in private just to make it through the next day. The next morning, I got an email from the school principal. A parent had left a glowing comment about my support during their son's difficult semester. For a brief second, I smiled. I held on to that was real. Meanwhile, Marla's fantasy world was crumbling. 3 days later, I was sitting on my porch drinking tea when my mother pulled up, unannounced. She got out slowly, holding something in her hands. A small manila envelope. "Can we talk?" she asked, her voice strained. I nodded, reluctantly. She sat beside me in the wicker chair, looking older than I remembered. The stress lines around her mouth seemed more pronounced. "She's gone to stay with a friend in Charlotte," she said quietly. "She left yesterday." I didn't say anything. "She wanted me to give you this." She held out the envelope. I didn't take it right away. "What is it?" "She says it's the money she took." "And a note." I looked at it without touching it. "Iris," my mom said, "she's not okay." "I've never been okay because of her," I replied. We sat there for a long time, the envelope resting between us on the small table. Eventually, I took it. Opened it. Inside were $2,100 bills, a few 50s, a couple of 20s, and a note scribbled on a wrinkled piece of paper. "Here's your damn money. I was going to pay you back before you humiliated me. But congratulations. You got to play the perfect victim again. Don't worry, I won't come near your precious therapy sessions ever again." There was a part of me that felt the weight of each dollar. I'd mourned that money. I'd cried over what it represented: lost time, lost progress, a shattered sense of safety. Now it was back. But it didn't feel like a win. My mom exhaled. "She's not going to apologize." I nodded. "I know. She doesn't think she did anything wrong. She never does." My mom stood to leave, pausing before she opened the door. "I don't know how to fix this," she said. "I'm not asking you to," I replied. "I'm just asking you not to excuse it." She nodded slowly, then drove off. I sat with the envelope on my lap for a long time. I didn't cry. I didn't rage. I just felt done. Later that week, Dr. Lehane asked me what I wanted to do with the money. "I don't know yet," I said. "Do you want to put it back in the tin?" I shook my head. "I don't want it near me right now. It sat in a lockbox at the bank for weeks. I didn't touch it." Things in the family got quiet after that. My mother tiptoed around conversations involving Marla. Daria stayed in touch, but mostly just sent memes and the occasional check-in text. At work, things started to level out. I threw myself into projects with my students, started a new mindfulness program, and began weekly therapy again. I found my footing, slowly. And yet, something still hung heavy in the air. The kind of grief you can't quite name, not for a person, but for the relationship you wished you had with them. The phantom of what could have been. What haunted me wasn't just what Marla did. It was how normal it felt. How her betrayal didn't shock me, it just confirmed what I always suspected deep down: I was never safe with her. She used to take my things as a teenager. Borrowed clothes, makeup, my CD player. If I asked for them back, she'd pout or twist the story until I gave up. Once, she took my journal and read it to her friends. I was 15. I told my mom back then, crying. She said, "She probably didn't mean to hurt you. Don't make it a big deal." And there it was, the blueprint. The slow erosion of boundaries. She took what she wanted. I stayed quiet. Until now. And now that silence was broken, all that was left was the aftermath. About a month after that envelope appeared on my porch, I started hearing things. Not from Marla. She went radio silent after sending back the stolen money, but through the grapevine. A colleague of mine, Jen, who also knew Lucas through a local charity board, mentioned in passing that Lucas had told a few mutual acquaintances about how lucky he was to find out the truth before it was too late. Apparently, Marla's lie about the stolen money wasn't the only one he'd unearthed. There had been others, little fabrications about her job, her debt, her relationship history. One thing led to another. Lucas was meticulous, and the more he looked into her past, the more he questioned who she actually was. By the time she moved in with a college friend in Charlotte, word had gotten around their social circle. Nobody came out and labeled her a thief, but reputations are funny things. Once there's a crack in the facade, people notice everything they overlooked before. I didn't gloat. I didn't spread it. I simply let it happen. Let the natural consequences unfold. That, I've learned, is the best kind of revenge. A few weeks later, I got an email from a local nonprofit I had volunteered with years ago. They were starting a mentorship program for young women, particularly high school seniors facing emotional and financial barriers. They asked if I would be interested in being a guest speaker or group leader. Someone had recommended it to me. I said yes. The next Thursday, I stood in a room full of 16 and 17-year-olds, sharing my story, not the Marla story, but the broader one. About resilience, boundaries, healing. The stuff nobody teaches you in school but should. One of the girls raised her hand and asked how I got better. I learned to stop shrinking, I said. And I learned to stop giving people the benefit of the doubt when they didn't deserve it. They nodded. I smiled. I left that room feeling taller than I had in years. Now, here's where things take an unexpected but deeply satisfying turn. My cousin Daria works in real estate. She's practical, loyal, and a vault of family knowledge. She'd heard that Marla had applied for a new job at a well-known firm in Charlotte. Marketing firm. Prestigious. Lots of travel. Big-name clients. It turns out, during the reference check phase, one of the senior partners, an older woman, reached out to a professional contact in Nashville. That contact happened to be Jen, my colleague. Small world. Jen didn't go out of her way to hamper Marla. But when asked, honestly, about her character and history, she told the truth. She's smart, no doubt, Jen reportedly said. But she has a pattern of burning bridges, and she's known to stretch the truth to get ahead. I'd advise caution. Marla didn't get the job. She had posted a teaser on Instagram weeks before, something like "big things ahead. Can't wait to share party popper sparkles," and then, nothing. Her account went private shortly after. The stream of wedding prep posts, luxury brunches, and curated couple selfies dried up. No official announcement. Just silence. I didn't laugh. I didn't cheer. I just felt peace. I took that envelope of money and made a decision. I didn't use it for therapy. My sessions are already covered now. I was doing better. Steadier. Instead, I set up a fund at the school where I worked quietly, without fanfare. A small scholarship for students needing mental health support. Transportation costs. Emergency sessions. That kind of thing. The kind of thing that can make or break someone's ability to get help. I named it the Second Light Fund. Not after Marla. Not as a jab. But as a reminder that sometimes healing comes after the storm, when the light feels even brighter for all the darkness we've endured. The final message I ever received from Marla came 6 months later. It wasn't an apology. It was a single sentence: "I hope you're satisfied with yourself." I read it and deleted it. No response. No rage. No need. Because, yes, actually, I was satisfied. Not because she was struggling. But because I wasn't. Because I'd finally learned that the best revenge isn't ruining someone else's life. It's building yours without them in it. It's rising up from the rubble they thought would bury you. It's finding a way forward that has nothing to do with their validation. People always say blood is thicker than water. But they forget the full phrase: the blood of the covenant is thicker than the water of the womb. The bonds we choose, trust, love, truth, those are the ones that matter. My sister may never be in my life again. And that's okay. Because I found peace in the wreckage. And rebuilt from there. No more stolen moments. No more stolen money. No more stolen safety. This time, the healing is mine alone.